Live, trying to fix a 1980s TYCO Golden Eagle. This one was sent in a couple of years ago from a guy named Bill, no last name or other information. And it was in working order at the time, although recently I tried to run it during a live stream, and unfortunately it just did not seem to want to operate. The lights were flickering, but it wasn't really moving, even giving it almost 20 volts, which, you know, these things should operate pretty well even with like 12 volts of power. So anyway, today I'm hoping to try to get this thing working again. I'll take it over to the track. I'll just show all of you how it's currently performing, and then we'll crack it open. I find these TYCOs are, you know, pretty sensitive to carbon buildup, so I suspect if we clean all this out, we can probably get this thing working a heck of a lot better. Anyway, I've already got a whole bunch of people joining in. Welcome, everybody. I'm David from Michigan. Jacob the train guy, Linzer train fan, Kellen rail fan, welcome everyone. Yeah, let's see how it goes. Beer Steamer, how have you been? Oh, not too bad, how are you? So, giving it power right now, nothing is happening. Even though we're giving it, again, like 18 volts, and you can kind of see the light. Like if I hold it there, it momentarily gets power, but that's all it's doing. And even if I flip the direction here, it's like trying to go, but with that much power, it should just be like flying along. And it's a little better. And it's back to that again. So let's crack it open and see what it does here. Now, there are already a couple things I can see, which is that these wheels are kind of gummed up. They're not rotating as well as they should be, which is one thing that could be preventing power from flowing in there. The wheels themselves are also very dirty, which is also not great. But I am curious to see how the motor itself is actually looking here. The Golden Eagle has railings, that's neat. A lot of the earlier TYCOs had railings included in the box, or maybe all of them did, I don't really remember, but I think a lot of people just chose not to install them, or if they did install them, they got ripped out just from use. So yeah, this is kind of rare. Anyway, we'll dig into this one here and see if we can figure out why it's not operating so well. A lot of TYCOs, you can just kind of put something there and open it up. In this case, we've actually got two separate brackets, so I think I'm just going to kind of try to pry on this and see if we can just pull it out that way. And there we go. Leave that just lifts off. Try not to lose that spring right there. Overall, like everything looks dry, like there's a lack of oil, but it's pretty clean. Like usually when you open these TYCOs up, they're packed with old dust and hair and stuff like that. So, you know, it's possible I actually serviced this locomotive at some point in the past, and you know, maybe it just needs a little bit of a tune-up, because that right there could definitely be turning better. But I'm not seeing any grime, so I think we should remove this and try to maybe clean up the motor. I really hate opening this part up, because once you open it up, trying to get the brush and springs and everything in there is a little bit tricky, but in this case, I don't really know if we have much of a choice. The gears look good. Yeah, they're in great shape. I got a little assistant here. I'm not sure if I was the last one to work on this, but these were torqued down really well. See if maybe just need a larger tool. Still running my TYCO from 1974. I mean, if you maintain these things, they can run a while despite not being the highest quality. Luckily, our assistant is investigating all the equipment right here. Yeah, okay, buddy. I think we got it. Now we need like a breaker bar to get this one out. And I have just the thing. Six-legged supervisor, yeah. Apparently these are good luck, so you know, should help with the repair. Okay, let me just get a bowl so I don't lose all the springs and whatnot. He's checking for zinc pest. Yeah, exactly. Quality inspection. I'm not sure where my parts bin went off to. I'm just going to put these off to the side because the brushes and the springs are the parts that I usually lose while I'm working on these things. And just as a note, the spring looks pretty good. I've definitely seen better, but I've also seen a lot worse. I would like to locate the other spring though, which appears to still be in the whole top here. So I'll just tap that out, and you know, a bit of stretching would probably do those some good. But what I'm more concerned about here is the condition of the motor. You see how like the plates on the commutator are dirty? That's usually like a real point of failure with these things. Is Nerf Cat okay? Well, he's not doing great, but he hasn't gotten any worse since the last time. He's still with us. He's still happy. You know, he's living his life. Goes outside. He sleeps most of the time, but still is liking his attention and everything, which is really what matters to us. We just want to make sure he's a happy cat. Is that a ladybug? Yeah. Every fall, about 1 million of those move into the house. Not a terrible form of pest. Apparently they're good luck, and also they're not dangerous to live with. They're not toxic or anything like that. So we just kind of let them live around here. But yeah, if you look around the basement, it's full of them. That's looking better. What's wrong with Nerf Cat? He has really bad pancreatitis, and we've taken him to the vet, but he's just not eating enough food, so we're pretty worried about him. But he's also a 17, 18, maybe 19-year-old cat, so, you know, he's getting up in his years. What is the commutator? It's this part of the motor. It's where the power gets transferred from these brushes actually into the coils, which are behind here. I can't pull it out because it's actually locked in place, but it's coils like that. I see a ladybug. There's a ton of them. I really want to know why the Royal Hudson 2860 hasn't operated since like 2010. What's stopping it from being ran? I don't know. I don't know as much about that engine, but steam operation in general is pretty complicated stuff. You know, there's a lot of regulations around it, and I think just finding the right talent is also quite tricky. So the steam engine hasn't run for a long time. It's not necessarily because it's in bad shape. Just might not have the funding, or you name it. looks pretty good to me. Plus the boiler certificate. Yeah, in America, that's an issue. In Canada, I don't think there actually are the same laws. I know in Quebec, you don't actually need to have any certification. You just need to have insurance on your steam engine. Whether or not that's a good thing, I don't really know, because I think having the boiler inspected is probably a good idea. If a steam engine goes wrong, it can end very badly. Yeah, in Quebec, you don't need that rule. I don't know what the story is for the rest of Canada, but I think that is more of a American regulation. Do you like chocolate chip cookies? Well, who doesn't like chocolate chip cookies? They're awesome. How many steam locomotives do you have? Probably 100. Chocolate for life, yeah, no doubt. Here's our FRA inspector coming back to check in on the wheels. Ladybug is going in the engine. Maybe he wants to be the driver. What should I do if my train won't run, but it has lights? It's a Santa Fe N scale. Okay, so if your engine has a light and it's bright, it's probably not shorted, and you know the engine is picking up power, so your wheels and your wipers, all that stuff is working properly. At that point, there's pretty much one of three things that could be wrong. The first one is you could just have a wire or a ground, which isn't good going to the motor itself, so that could be a problem. It could be your brushes or your springs not making good contact with the commutator, or it could be your motor is burnt out and you actually have bad coils which are not allowing power to flow through them. A motor going bad is not super common. I find most times it is the commutator. So I would check the wires going to the motor, and I would also check the springs and the brushes if you can. But one of those three things has got to be what's going on if the lights are working. Did you ever watch Fast Trains and DVDs? I don't think I had that, but it's funny because when I was younger, we had some friends in Toronto, and we go to stay with them, and they had some younger kids. I was like 5, but their kids were like, 2 or something, and they would put on these videos, and it did have a lot of like high-speed trains and stuff, so maybe that was it. It wasn't Mighty Machines, because I really loved that show as a kid. I want to see more unboxings. I never run out of those on this channel. Why is it humming? Okay, so if your locomotive is humming, that means the motor is getting power. In that case, something is locking it up. And if it is humming and it's not moving, don't force it to run. You'll burn out the motor. I think that will work well. I guess we can get the truck back in place. I'm just wondering if I should try to get this all back together first. Yeah, that will make life more difficult. Is this the one you DCC'd? No, it's another one. The one I DCC'd I actually bought for $1, and part of the reason I added sound to that engine was because it was a $1 TYCO, because a lot of people had asked me, can you add DCC and sound to a cheap engine? And the answer to that is yes, so I kind of picked like the most unrealistic budget engine I had. It still runs. Stretch these guys out a little bit. And then we get the joy of actually trying to reinstall that plate. It's always a good time. I recently found you, and I've been running your videos non-stop. I'm new to model railroading, but I got into it as my father's old Markland stuff, and I got to running 2 loops and 2 engines. That's awesome. I find N-scale annoying. Well, I get the benefit, like if you're limited on space, there is a real advantage there, but yeah, in terms of actually having to work on the engines and stuff, it is definitely a lot trickier to work on N scale. If you know how to work on N scale stuff well, you definitely have a skill. I work on N scale things every once in a while, but it's not my go-to. Honestly, the larger the engine, usually the easier it is to work on, maybe with the exception of real engines. Anyway, as for getting the brushes back into place, I got this device right here. It's just a piece of plastic. It might even be cardboard, I don't know. I think I got this from an old phone case or something. And what this does, it will actually hold those brushes in place as we try to install this. Doesn't always work perfectly, but it will help. That's a lady beetle, not a ladybug. I don't know the difference. What do you think of the Bachmann Overland Limited minus track, $75, $9 shipping, made in 2016? If it runs, that sounds like a pretty good deal. I find those larger steam engines, the Union Pacific one they include in that set, you know, it might not be the best out there, but for $75, even if you don't have track, that's not the worst. And you know, truth be told, Bachmann Easy Track is not the greatest stuff out there. So if you buy that set and then, you know, spend some money on getting another brand of track, it might be worth it. If you do buy track for it, though, definitely get 22 radius or 24 radius if you have the space for it, because again, the engine in that set is not really known for staying on the track all that well, so you definitely want to make sure you're not going with 18 radius, because it's not going to run on that. Oh boy, here we go. Have you ever seen a CPKC train in Quebec? I haven't so far, but there isn't a lot of rail stuff going on in Gatineau. I bet if I went out to like Montreal, I'd probably see tons of it, but around here, there just isn't much to see. I'm gonna have to rotate this around because I think I have this the wrong way. Now this is where things get tricky, because we need to keep those brushes down, but we also need to get this to slip into that part right there. And I think I've already messed it up. It has to be done quite quickly. Have you ever thought about making your own locomotives? You seem to have the spare parts and tools to do it. Probably could. I did make an engine out of junk pieces once, but I don't know. I like to kind of keep all my spare parts around for when I have some kind of a repair I'm having trouble with. Is Kato track good for a layout? If you're building a modern one and you're only going to use modern equipment, I think it will be great. If you're going to be using older equipment, I probably wouldn't, just because it's code 83. Okay, I wonder if I actually did that right or if it just fell out in place. Let's try to power it up. Springs are copper, too soft. They're not copper. I think they might be steel. Serenity! 3 times the charm. Yeah, that's what it takes. Let's try not to pull this on. That's why I install that screw. Make sure we don't open that up again. Opening these things up is a nightmare. You really do open Pandora's box if you open one of these. But we got it back together, so no more worrying about that. Let's make sure everything is good and oiled. Hey Harrison, I'm trying to help a neighbor who has an HO scale layout. I think his track is Atlas. I'm not sure how to help put it together, but his lock-on needs to replace the power track advice. Okay, from what I'm understanding is you don't have a connection between the controller and the track itself. If that's the issue, you can buy rail joiners with wires attached to them, and you just kind of slot those in there, and that will solve it. But any way will work. If you just want to solder wires directly to one of the 2 rails, it will also deliver power the same way. Or if you have a dead end, you could just add some jumper wires from your controller to that. If you're talking about the joiners themselves, you can buy packages of those. They're pretty common stuff. Ron, classic model trains almost lost a brush, but a little damaged and replaced it with a Lifelike or motor. Yeah, well, the Lifelikes and Bachmans of the same era use a very similar style of motor, so yeah, I think you can probably swap parts, at least in terms of the brushes. I've even soldered to the joiners. Yeah, it will work. Getting this again. It's turning better. You do realize that they were made not to be opened up. The idea was that the engine stopped running, you were supposed to buy another. Yeah, exactly. Well, what's that called? Planned obsolescence? Some of the TYCO engines actually do have removable brush plates, but the problem is that the plastic has become so brittle over the years that if you remove them, sometimes they don't go back into place. So that's why it's worth taking that gamble I just did, where you actually just kind of, you know, get the brushes in and then put the whole plate back together. But it's not how it would have been done when this thing was leaving the factory in whatever year it was, 1981. Anyway, we'll service the rear truck right here. See if we can get that jiving. I don't think we need to remove this truck. I think if we just remove the side frames, you should be able to pull out the wheels and service those. It's a TYCO marketing thing. His Atlas track is the piece with the straight track I call the lock-on track. So all you need to do is attach the wires to put it together. So if you're talking about like a terminal connector where you have like a straight piece of track with, you know, 2 screws to actually tie the wires on, those can fail sometimes. Sometimes between the bolts and the rails themselves, those will fail. Maybe it's still working, but I would just keep that in mind because I've had a couple of those fail on me before, so it's just something to take note of. Harrison, have you heard of Rodney Kantoskorsky. I'm sorry, guys, I can't pronounce that right. What's your opinion on him? Don't quote me on this. I think you're talking about the guy who's like a rail fan, and whatever, I think like Pennsylvania trains go by, he starts yelling at them. I don't know a whole lot about him as a person. I think his videos are hilarious. His reactions to things are great, but that's all I know about him. Yes, the terminal connector, your alternate solution is just to solder the wires on. Yeah, I mean, that's what I've done with my layout. You can also buy replacement terminal connectors, but honestly, having something connected right to the rails just eliminates a lot of problems. Or add multiple connectors, just as long as they're wired the same way. There's nothing wrong with that. Got anything spooky for Halloween? Yeah, TYCO Golden Eagle. I'm kidding. Yeah, I don't have any specific plans for Halloween. One of my friends, I think, is supposed to be hosting a Halloween party, so maybe I'll go see that. Halloween is taken very seriously in this house, though. Like, a lot of people always comment on all the Halloween decorations they see on the walls here. So there's definitely going to be a real display for all the trick-or-treaters and so on. Does Nerf Cat have a costume? I don't know. Maybe I could dress him up as Toonsis. Use the smoke machine effect on the layout, and use the T1 as the ghost engine. The cat who can drive a car. Yeah, that's Toonsis. Nerf Kitty can't drive a car, but it was pretty funny because the other day, I've been working on my Oldsmobile Regency from the 70s, and yeah, I win some, I lose some with that car, but I've got it to a point now where it's at least like running, and I wanted to take my girlfriend Chloe for a drive, but the cat was in the driveway, and we kept kind of putting him up to the front door, and then he had just run right back over again. So it's like, okay, like this is too dangerous trying to leave with the cat right here. So I was like, I guess we're just going to take him with us. So we put him in the Regency, and we went for a drive around the neighborhood. And he was really content with that, which is funny because when we used to take him to the vet, he would have a conniption, but maybe that was because he was in a cage. But yeah, he was just chilling with us in the car, and it's one of those cars with the old bench seats. So it's like, yeah, this is pretty cool, you know, driving in a classic car with the cat. He needs attention. That's all he wants. What year is your Regency? It's a 79. Do you have any tips for fixing Athearn Blue Box engines? Yeah, make sure the springs on the bottom of the motor are in good shape if your motors come loose at some point. Gotta get this coupler back in place. That's gonna be fun. Okay, so I think that part's all bougie. We just got to get this light back in place, and there's not even a standard for the light anymore. So we're just going to pop that back into place, and then what we'll do is we'll get the spring in place, load this up, load the rest of it into the engine, and hopefully it will work. They just clip in. It seems like it's all turning well, so... I've been to Milestown, Montana a few times, and I've actually seen the former Milwaukee Road through my town. Modern suspension. Yeah. Well, let's see if that did anything for it. What's your opinion on Atlas Code 100 Super Flex Track? I like it. I work with it a lot. Especially Code 100 track. If it's Code 100 nickel silver, you know, it's going to be solid. Those are kind of like my two standards. Doesn't even run. Must have really botched this one. Kind of seems like it's just doing the same stuff it did before. Maybe it just needs to break in. Oh, yeah, there we go. Yeah, that's more like it. Get these cars off the main line quickly here so we can run it through a couple laps and just get it to kind of warm up. Serenity, yeah. This is what I want to see. It's not good when you put something on the track and it doesn't start right away. It's like, how could I have made this worse? But these old TYCOs can be finicky, and when you open an engine up, you do mess with the brushes, and you mess with the gears, you mess with a lot of things which are all seated together, so sometimes they just need to break in. You gotta knock the rust out of her, yeah. I'll throw it in reverse, run the snot out of it in both directions. What do you think of the big boys' new smoke deflectors? I'm kind of surprised they added those, but I imagine it must be for a good reason. Can you show me how the soldering is done on your rails? I usually just solder like the sides of the rails, so I ignore the insides and the top, because if you get solder on the top, that can mess things up, and if you get it on the insides, that can also mess things up. I just put a little bit of flux on the outside of the rail, and then I just kind of solder just so that it welds to both sides. Just get it to kind of sink in a little bit, and then, you know, it's not going to give you any issues after that. Well, it seems to be running pretty well now. Should we try to actually haul some cars with it? I have to find a car so we can actually couple everything up. We're gonna pretend that this is a baggage car. Okay, very nice. It's the amp draw. Looks like she's pulling just under a quarter amp. It's a little bit high for one of these things, but we could also be working with a tired power plant. It's a buffer car, keeps the riffraff out of the locomotive. Some old TYCO and Bachmann Athearn Mantua locomotives don't need OEM couplers. They use KD beer. Yeah, you can throw KDs on just about anything. Watching while trying to recover deleted CAD files. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, David. Data loss is the worst. I've now had it on 3 different accounts. I had a hard drive, like an external hard drive, that went bad. One of my old computers had a hard drive, that went bad. And then recently, one of my phones, it doesn't start. I don't know why. Didn't drop it in water, didn't drop it at all. 5-year-old iPhone, and it just it will not start. In 1980, I was 10 years old. TYCO sets were my favorite Christmas gift. I liked the Santa Fe sets. The TYCO racetracks were cool. I miss being a kid in the 70s and a teenager in the 80s. It must have been a time to be around. Modern electronics are no match for ink and paper. Well, they can't fail the same way, although my only concern about having paper is that, you know, if it gets lost or damp or catches fire, you can still lose it. So I think the only thing you can do if you have anything like a picture or a note or whatever it is, the only way to protect it is make a hard copy, maybe multiple, and make lots of digital copies and store them in other places. I think that this thing is really starting to pick up the pace with the brake in here. You can see the current draw. It's gone down just a little bit more, and it's definitely picked up a little bit in terms of RPMs. Well, it's hauling cars, which is great to say. People are posting the Nerf cat emoji. How many Golden Eagles do you have? I've got 2 of them. Y'all winning memberships. Somebody giving away memberships? Can you double head the Golden Eagles? I don't think I can double head them because they're mechanically quite different now that one has DCC, but what I could probably try to do is put this engine in front of the freight train there, and then maybe I could get the DCC one and run it on the inside circuit. We'll see. Copy things over and over. Yeah, exactly. I would imagine this engine has the jam to haul a train this size. He actually gave 20. Who gave away the memberships? I didn't get any notification for that. Okay, so I'll plug in this controller right here. We'll get that going, and then I'll grab the other engine. Trainman 1998. Well, thank you, Trainman 1998, for giving out 20 memberships. Very generous. Okay, here, so let's see. Will this one start if I do this? How do you like your sound-equipped TYCO Golden Eagle? Oh, whoops. There we go. There we don't go. You can tell it's a Digitrax sound decoder, yep. If I had thrown something nicer than a Bachmann Easy Make coupler on this thing, I probably wouldn't be having these issues. I've been having trouble with my passenger cars as well, so don't feel bad. Well, funny timing with the comment. They can only be so good. Yeah, there we go. What's the maximum amount of cars a TYCO Power Torque can pull? Maybe 15 light cars. Doesn't help him running old Rivarossi cars. I think the Golden Eagles might be a bit angry. Well, you don't really see a happy TYCO. They just kind of run reluctantly. This might sound super dumb, but do you have Halloween in Canada? I thought it was just an American thing. Oh, we definitely have it here. I think it extends to quite a few countries, but yeah, my family takes Halloween very seriously. I mean, you see some of these empty shelves right here. That's Halloween decorations already being brought up, but basically from the back of that wall to here is all Halloween stuff. So yeah, it's definitely around here. It's taken very seriously in my family in particular. My mom has a real thing for Halloween. She loves really decking out the house. It's probably only second to Christmas around here, honestly. Thank you for the gift membership. Did I just join the end of the live stream? I'll run this stuff around for a second. I'm kind of tempted to dig into more of those engines. I have some other ones which don't need a full repair, but they need some maintenance, so maybe we'll get into that. The MU2 drive will keep going no matter what, just like the GM 3800 V6. Yeah, the MU2s are solid. The power torques, not so much. Why did you take the 2 knight statues from our high school? What, did you lose some of those recently? You can't use the word Bachman and good in the same sentence. Oh no. Anyway, I think we'll stop one of these things. We'll try fixing up some other stuff. I have a couple Atherns, which I think would probably appreciate some maintenance here. There's always stuff to work on. I'm not sure which of these Atherns is in worse shape. I feel like this one was actually running to some extent. It might have been this one that ran, but it was kind of rough. The only pieces of rolling stock with the groovy gold plating are the Locomotive and caboose. The cars came with regular paint oil rolling stock. They're the exact same style of statues in our high school. Our mascot is a knight. That's funny. I think they're from Pottery Barn or something, so I wouldn't be surprised. TYCO started in 1926. 2 guys building model boats and motors. I didn't know that's how TYCO started. TYCO is short for toy company. I didn't know that either. Big thanks for the email response to my questions. Very helpful. Oh, thanks. Yeah, no problem. I try. That right there doesn't seem half bad. The only real issue with this is the coupler's hanging super low. I don't know if the frame is a little bit bent, but that is way below where it should be. And as for the Amtrak, this one doesn't seem that bad either. Okay, maybe I take that back. So just back up better than it goes in forwards. Either something is broken or it has a bad gear. It sounds pretty good on the straightaways, and then it goes into a curve and it starts really acting up. She's a little rough, yeah. So, it does run, but I'm gonna open this up anyway. I think the problem is somewhere in the rear truck. I think it's a bad gear. It would not be entirely surprising for an old Athearn engine. I have seen that on these before. It's not like incredibly common, but given the way some of this stuff is looking, I wouldn't be too surprised. I don't even know what's going on like with that. Yeah, so that's all turning fine. I don't know if this is rust or if somebody put some sort of an anti-oxidant, like an oxidizing coating there. That's a little odd, but yeah, it looks like they've already done like a wire bypass, so I guess that's all good. Just as the other one has, though, you see how this coupler is super low? I think it's mounted on the wrong side. That looks right jacked, so I'm gonna get rid of that. That's always one thing identified, but yeah, let's dig into this. I'm gonna dig into the rear motor. I really think this is probably where the grief is. Either it has a split gear or there's something actually caught in the gearbox. Hopefully something's just caught in the gearbox, because if it's a split gear, there's not as much I can do about that during the duration of a live stream. So what's it gonna be here? That one looks fine. looks fine. That one is slipping a little bit, but it doesn't look that bad. Strange. Maybe it is the front one. So I'm gonna try turning this manually and see if there's a spot maybe where there's like a bit of a bump. Nothing. I guess we'll dig into the front truck. Someone on the other side. Yeah, it's possible. It's usually when these things are split, like you see a bad split down the center and you know well, that is where the problem is, but so far I'm not really seeing anything that's too suspect. Gears seem fine on that side too. That looks good. You know what? You know what? There's a bit of something there. You see that? I need to actually shave this down. Yeah, there's actually like a metal shaving there. It's so small it can't even really be seen very well on camera, but you know, sometimes when you just have like one little rock or something like that in a gearbox, it can actually cause a clicking noise like that, so it's possible that's what it was. He's been doing this for a while. He knows what he's doing. I would never claim to be like an expert or anything, but I have opened my fair share of these Atherns. A little bit crazy, but a good challenge. You'd have to keep rotating the trucks to make it around corners. Yeah. Do a really careful inspection of each of these one at a time. I mean, there was this one that was slipping pretty bad, so yeah, it could be whatever's going on here, but I'm not 100% convinced on that. It's a little bit of ballast. So that's all good. There's a tiny bit of slipping, but nothing like terrible. Yeah, let's try putting those back together. If it had a bad gear, it would sound like a dirt bike. Yep. Sound like an old 2-cycle engine. So I think as for the bad gear there, I'm just going to put a tiny bit right on the end like that. And then be careful not to accidentally get that on the bearing, otherwise that's going to be not a fun time. Athearn and Proto, same gearing, right? Yeah, well, that's the dirty secret, which is that, you know, Proto basically stole Athearn's designs and then, you know, was remanufacturing their models. So much so that you can swap parts. There does seem to be some bits of ballast in there, though, so maybe that's what's been going on. I'm not seeing any other bits, though, so hopefully we can just kind of get this back into place here. And oh, wait a minute, is that another? That right there is grease, so that's okay. Yeah. Something I'm missing here. And there we go. Let's double check again too that everything is turning properly. Actually seemed a little bit off in the beginning, but it's turning fine now. Very strange. Do you have a Union Pacific power dummy unit? I can't say I do. Athearn and Proto use the same geared wheels. Anyone else got grease lightning stuck in their heads now? Is the music sounding similar to that? Me and my friend were driving through an area where he thought a club was, but it looked like it wasn't accepting visitors. Is it still open or... Okay, that was a question for somebody else. Do you have any... yeah, I've got some AC 4400s. Clip is doing the same thing it was with the other truck. It doesn't want to go into place. What is going on here? Oh. Whoops. Yeah, so yeah, you know, clearly there's some stuff not great with this engine, but yeah, it's rolling fine now. What is the engine that is a Stuart with a bad armature? It came back to life. It was a main central F7, I think. That's a screw. Looks to me like an off-cutting of some sort of plastic structure. It looks like somebody cut off the flashing off something they were building, and anyway, it ended up in this engine. Hopefully that was the source of the sound. I wish I hadn't broke that cover, but at least we know why it was doing that now. I forgot both the covers here too, so I better install those. These are not mission critical, but we'll put them in anyway. It looked like a fun trip to the museum. Seashore is a wonderful place. I always love going there. What locomotive are you working on? I think it's an FP45. Seems a lot better. Have you ever been to the Toronto Roundhouse? I can't say I have. I saw your Seashore Trolley Museum video. I spotted the New York Central subway cars there. Yeah, they've got quite a bit of New York stuff. They also have some Boston equipment. So we'll see if that did it any good. Thank you so much for the super chat, Mark. You give me hope to work on my TYCO stuff. Well, that's the goal. Back wheels are a little derailed here, but it's derailed again. I think we've made some kind of progress with this. Kind of sounds like that same truck is still doing the same stuff. Let's try in the other direction here. Seems okay one way. Check if the frame is warped. I think you might be right. Because this right here is pretty typical Athearn performance. I'm not too concerned about that. It's just when you try to go the other way, it starts doing some weird stuff. See how it does in this corner here. Yeah, same thing. That is very odd. The Locomotive is an SDP40F. It wasn't Amtrak that wanted it. The fuel water tanks needed baffles inside them. Okay. So that all seems to be rotating pretty well. It's rotating well, but yeah, it's that wheel right there. Kind of wondering if I should just be looking for a replacement for that. Yeah, so there must be something wrong with this one wheel set. Nothing blatantly obvious to me there, but yeah. See if I have one in my bin here. I can just throw one in. That, or I'm going out to the parts heap. Yeah, I'm not seeing any. I live in a town with train tracks, but a train hasn't come through in 5 years. Well, in Gatineau, we have about one train a week, but it's only to part of the city, and the other half doesn't even get any trains, so it just depends. Let me go grab a wheel set. Okay. Okay, found more Athearn parts. If this doesn't fix its wagon, I don't know what will. I got the goofiest thing that happened in my school. We were leaving, the students that drove were honking their horns for no reason. It was funny. I don't know, sometimes the kids at the bus stops there, they like to do that. They get everybody, they do the like honk honk thing, you know? There was one time I was out of my boat. It was Saint Jean, and they were lighting off fireworks. And in the US, every time I've seen a fireworks show and there's been water nearby, everybody in their boats is always honking their horns. Nobody was there, so I started the trend and I just did like a honk honk after one of the fireworks, and then everybody started up after that. They were like, hey, there's an idea. Okay, so no clicking stuff going on. What about the other way? Maybe? Can't believe that one wheel set was giving this thing so much grief. That's insane. So I'll probably throw that gear out, but I would like to closer inspect it just to figure out why it might have been doing that, because again, usually like you can see when something like that is not right. Let's double check. That bearing is okay, so we know that's not the problem. That bearing is also okay, so the wheels, as far as I'm concerned, are totally fine. I'm not seeing anything that could prevent this from rotating properly. A little bit of stuff there, maybe that could cause an issue, but probably not. Clan of every W, thank you for joining the Well Folks Club. So I guess it must be the gear. But I'm not seeing any cracking. Got this one little gap right here, but that's normal. Let's check the teeth here. So whenever something is acting like that, I always like to verify, what actually went wrong to try to learn from it. But that is most mysterious. You got a bug over there? Yeah, it's the ladybug from earlier. He's checking the bearings out. It's like, boss, they're no good. Well, I guess at this point we can throw a coupler on this thing and actually try to get that part of it working as well. It's a ladybug. Yeah, some more of that good luck I was talking about earlier. Have them check the oil. When you test this engine out, put it on the passenger train. I'd probably love that. It could be in the driver's seat. One's on my desk too. I don't know why they love this house so much, but I swear every fall they get in the basement, they get in the garage. They love the upstairs. They seem to really like light, and so since I have a lot of lights around here, I think that's why they're always attracted to the workbench. But yeah, a lot of ladybugs around. I don't know where I put the coupler pocket from earlier. You're quite lucky. All I get is the stink bugs. Well, the ladybugs, I'm not hugely bothered by them because, again, they're not a toxic pest to have. Like, if you're going to have something in your home, not a bad thing, but the ladybugs can get annoying. They get in your food, which is kind of gross, and I don't know what it is, but they also like to fly in my hair, and so you just hear, like, this buzzing noise, and then you find them in your hair. That's not very great, but, yeah, other than that, they're not that bad. Hopefully no bug surprises in the new home. Given the age of the place, I imagine there's probably going to be some kind of bug, but just as long as it's not roaches or anything too nasty, I'm not really bothered by bugs. Like, this basement is full of spiders, but I'm not really bothered by those guys. You know, they're pest control as far as I'm concerned. It's just ants and things that can actually damage or harm you. I don't want those, but ladybugs and spiders and things like that, those are fine. I get wolf spiders in the basement. Yeah, we got wolf spiders down here too. Those are spooky looking things, but again, I'm at peace with the spiders. I had Athearn wheel sets that were just fine when adjusted, but one wheel was too close to the gear and was binding on one of the bearings. Maybe that's what was going on in this case. If I kind of trimmed this down a little bit, if I could get it to fit around that pocket. I like this idea. Better to have spiders and ladybugs than mice. Yeah, exactly. They don't chew up your wires or anything like that. Drives my girlfriend absolutely crazy, though, because she'll see these spiders in my room, you know, crawling on the walls and stuff, and she'll say, "You need to get it out of here. I don't like the spiders." And I'm like, "Ah, Chloe, they're my friends. They live here." She doesn't take too kindly to the spiders. you have any type of Erie Lackawanna livery? Yeah, I've got some Erie Lackawanna stuff. Don't send her to Australia. Well, it's funny because I have some friends from Australia, and there was one night in the middle of November. I was out at like a farm, and we were having a fire and stuff. And at one point to get the fire going, I'm like just picking up these logs, and I stick my hand into like this pile of logs, and my buddy from Australia there, he's looking at me like I'm a madman, and I'm like, what's up? And he's like, do you guys not have like dangerous spiders in Canada? And I was like, no. But I guess if you live in Australia, you never just stick your hand in a pile of wood because there could be one hiding in there. But it's just funny because in Canada, you could get bit by a spider, but there's nothing really that dangerous around here. I think the worst thing you could probably get out of a pile of wood is like a wasp nest, but even that is not that common. So, but it's just interesting to see how people from another country don't quite see it that way. Need to find some screws here so we can try to get that in place. I'd reckon that one of these is going to do the job just fine. Watch out for yellow jackets and log. Yeah, well, the yellow jackets are dangerous. I've had my fair share of encounter with yellow jackets. I'm not at peace with the yellow jackets, so I'm not good buddies with those guys. Let's say when I was probably about 12 years old, I actually stepped in a yellow jacket nest. I was really lucky. I only got stung 3 times, but they were flying everywhere. It was very dangerous. When you previously repaired the Golden Eagle, I wrote to you asking for wiring instructions because mine didn't have them. I rewired it, and now it works perfectly. Greetings from Chile. I work pest control in my industry. We do have our fair share of encounters with the yellow jackets. Yeah, I don't know. Always mindful of the yellow jackets after that incident. $5-gallon bucket of soap and water takes care of the yellow jackets. Yeah, I have my own yellow jacket fighting technique. If it was an in-ground nest, that's probably what I would do. But this one time, not the same nest I stepped in, but last year, out in the garden, we have like this brick wall. And our gardener was over and she was doing some work, and I guess she had shifted the wall, and the yellow jackets came out after her, and she ran into the house, and they actually followed her inside, which was pretty scary. But anyway, I couldn't have a yellow jacket nest that close to the house just because it's like my grandmother's actually allergic to them, so there's that. Got the cat, the dog, my mom's out there gardening and stuff, and I'm already not a very big fan of yellow jackets. So what I did is I went out there at night and I carefully disassembled the wall. I'd take off a few bricks and then I'd run off, and then I'd come back, take out a few more bricks. And I just put a propane torch up to the nest, smoked them out real good. And then I dug the nest out. And yeah, they were not so lively. The next morning, I thought I'm gonna have to clean up all this, you know, yellow jacket farm, but the wonderful thing is I don't know if it was a raccoon or a skunk or something came by in the night. It ate the entire nest. Everything was gone. So yeah, it's wonderful how nature kind of just sorts itself out. I get rid of the wasp nest, and one of nature's creatures gets to enjoy baked wasps for dinner. So, you know. I've thrown the coupler on the wrong end of the engine. That's fine. Currently trying to catch CSX M510. My camera isn't waterproof and it's raining. What do I do? Hide out in your car. Hide out in your car with the window rolled down. Yeah, I'm starting to think that this engine was dropped at some point because the coupler was fine on the other side, but now that I've got it loaded up here, it's not rotating, which means that, you know, it's not a case where the screw is so loose that this is too low. So yeah, I'm thinking that this kind of latter part of the frame right here was bent at some point. See if I can straighten that out. That looks better. I'm thinking that that's probably about right. The wifey just brought me a glass of vino. What's vino? Nice Amtrak you're fixing. Well, it's gonna be. This is giving me a fair share of grief. Let's back that off like in a quarter turn or so. Better. Yes, there we go. Vino is Italian for wine, I believe. Oh. I'm not sure what's going on here. Nothing on this engine lines up. I straighten out the chassis and now the shell is like all cattywampus. Yeah, this was definitely dropped. Look at that. That is not good. Couplers are a real hassle. They always are. One of those parts of assembling an engine that you really need to do right, because if you screw it up, then, you know, things are going to be the wrong height and you'll have cars detaching and stuff. It's one of those things. So this is the sort of stuff you have to be careful when you buy engines at train shows, though. Like, I will say that, you know, you buy a brand new engine, you don't have to worry that somebody might have dropped it at some point, or, you know, there's going to be weird stuff like this. Because honestly, from a distance, this engine doesn't look bad, you know? You could easily say, oh, it's an Athearn, that's a reliable brand, and it doesn't look too bad cosmetically. Like, how much trouble could it possibly be? And then, you know, if you're someone who works on locomotives and you can, you know, spot that the chassis is bent, or, you know, there's broken stuff like that, it's not a big deal. But for a beginner, this kind of stuff could be major grief. So hopefully this time we got it right. Yes, okay. This coupler is just killing me. Well done, slow patience. Well, the engine's running fine, but that coupler just continues to give me more grief. So I don't know if I'm gonna have to replace that whole pocket or what the case is. At least it's running well with the shell, though. Yeah, I'd love to actually see this thing hauling some cars. I spoke too soon. Should I see if maybe I can just like put maybe a nut and like a Katy coupler? Just gonna remove the side material. And the only purpose that this top part is gonna serve is to simply hold the coupler in place. But I think with a Katy, we're gonna have less issues just because these couplers don't tend to be that flexible, so I think it should stay in place a little bit better. I mean, it doesn't even really have to pivot, it just needs to be centered. The cars should pivot enough for this to work. That's not at all ideal, but I'm kind of getting tired of fiddling around with it. It could be that the chassis is still so bent that the coupler is still not a good height. Can't find my MNRA gauge, so we're just gonna hook up cars to it and hope for the best. The shank looks about the right height from the head of the rail, so I think we're gonna be all right. Try her again. It is possible I bent the chassis back too much the other way. Yeah, maybe. I'll aboard the Amtrak Express. 25th time's the chart, yeah. Okay, it's made it one lap. Maybe that did it. Let's do a shakedown test over that uneven switch. Gotta love Katie's. I think we can call that one a success. What a beauty. I guess we'll get working on that Santa Fe engine now. People are posting numbers in the chat and I don't know why. Yeah, again, this one, I don't think this one here needs a rebuild. However, just sort of like the Amtrak that we worked on, it's got a coupler which is not up to the right height, which means that, you know, if you try to like go along far enough and you reach a switch, for example, you derail. Just gonna adjust some settings here. All right, there we go. This time around, hopefully it's not a bent chassis, but it probably is. Yep, it's the exact same problem. You do have to be careful. These chassis will only tolerate so much bending there. I'm kind of tempted just to move the coupler to the back, honestly. That's more like it. SMT, have you ever been to Halton County Radial Railway Museum in Milton, Ontario? I can't say I have. I'd be curious to check that out. I wonder how far away I am from it. Looks pretty good. Actually, I take that back. The coupler is on the ground there too, so. The previous owner must have dropped these engines a fair share of times. Can't believe this one's actually bent on both sides. What's up with the numbers in the chat? I wish I had an answer. I don't know what that's all about. It's definitely better in terms of height. I don't know if somebody like pulled out these handrails too, but these are really messed up. Oh no, I'm not going to worry about that for now. Let's just see if this one will haul some cars now. Oh, yeah. Is it getting colder up there yet? Things have been pretty warm for this time of year in Canada. I think it is going to cool down soon, though. It's going to flip, I have no doubt. What's your favorite train? The Milwaukee Road Hiawatha. 3 successful repairs. Yeah, I'd say so. I got the 1mm bearings in the River Aussie today. How are those working? Contact post on the rear truck is making contact with the drive shaft, causing it to bog down. That's entirely possible. We'll have a look. I think you'd be right, good sir. The one on the front looks okay, but yeah, this was definitely dropped. This one is making a little bit of contact too, so maybe I'll bend that a little bit there. Looks good. Oh yeah, she's like silk now. I got a quick glimpse when I joined it. Do you want to hear a train/Santa joke? Sure. I'd recommend looking for an Athearn rectifier locomotive. They're the rarest form of the yellow box era. The only good offerings from Athearn to include pentagraphs. I have one. Huh. Or any trade numbers. I'm not gonna say the number. Ready for the layout. Yeah, I'm not even digging into that. Okay, I think we need to stop it with some of this number stuff. Do you like Athearn, Mahana, or Lifelike better? In terms of reliability, Athearn all day. Mahana was pretty good too, but purely from like a nostalgia standpoint, Lifelike. Has Larkspur found a buyer yet? I don't think that they have. My dad was out in Merrickville with my mom about 2 weeks ago, and he stopped in at the shop, and things seem to be kind of just business as usual. SMT, is this your first layout? She sure is. Do you have a British E2 steam engine? I don't think I do. Will you be building a new layout when you move? I don't think so. I'll probably expand this one though. So guess what, SMT? I got a new truck for $1,200. It came with a $500 toolbox and a $4,500 LED light bar. Little 94 Chevy. 4x4, 1500. Nice. What was the issue with the Golden Eagle? I think it just needed oil and cleaning. There was nothing broken inside it. What do you use for water? I just use Woodland Scenics water. It works pretty well, but whatever you're going to apply it to, make sure it's actually sealed up really well. Because if it's not, it will just seep right through. It takes a very, very long time to cure. Are you going to keep the Hershey factory the same or update it? The Hershey factory is going to remain the same. But the rest of the layout, I think, is probably going to be some changes in the new space. It's currently knocking in the engine, but the light bar makes up for it. Just throw some Lucas in there. I'm sure she'll be fine. If it's got a 350, I bet it will run forever. Are you running trains now? Yeah, pretty much. I think I've done enough repairs for the evening. Thank you for getting me into the hobby. I'm glad to hear that, Tronic. The Hershey factory is awesome to look at. I'm very proud of it. I've never built anything like it before. Definitely one of the craziest things I've ever taken on, but fully worth it. Next is the Forest Fair Mall, which is the only other building that, for whatever reason in my life, I have such an attachment to. I really don't know why. I think having an affinity for building structures is kind of unusual, but whatever. I had pull towards this thing, I have pull towards the mall. We're gonna build the mall too. It already has an entire bottle. I could probably use another. I'm thinking about putting a train horn on it. Well, I put a train horn on my Oldsmobile Regency, and it's a nice addition. One day I was driving along. I was taking the Clo out for a drive in the Regency, and somebody cut me off. Like, they just pulled, like, I was driving along a road. I wasn't going that fast, but there was an intersection, and I had the right of way. I didn't have a stop or anything, and they just decided to pull out. And there was a car blocking them, so I couldn't even see them coming. So they just go right out in the road, and I'm like, whoa! And I slam on the brakes. I was actually quite impressed by how fast the Regency stopped, because it's a heavy car. But I was like, blasting the train horn at them. It's like, you are lucky. Definitely wouldn't have been like dangerous for anybody involved, but you're dealing with like a 70s metal bumper versus cars today, which are made of plastic. I think the Regency probably would have come out on the upper end, so they're just lucky I stopped quick enough. That was scary. Is spending a ton of money on model trains worth it? I want to do so, but I don't know if it is. I think so. You don't have to go like full into, I mean, You know, just want to put in like 300 bucks. You can get started off in the hobby, just kind of get a taste for it, and if you don't like it, just sell everything off. I bet they were instantly sober. Yeah, probably. The other day my mom was driving and the lady next to her was putting on makeup in front of us while driving. Well, that's what you have to deal with when you're out on the road. Like, you have to keep an eye on what people are doing, because you never know if somebody's paying attention or not. I find a dead giveaway if somebody's going to cut you off is like, if you're on a highway and you got the line in the middle there, if somebody's kind of getting close to the line but they're not crossing it, it usually means they're about to cut you off. That's something I've noticed. If somebody's kind of just naturally leaning towards the lane but they're not signaling or anything, it probably means they're just about to, you know, try to get in there. So that's usually my dead giveaway when someone's about to pull some stuff. But with the intersection thing, that was just lucky that I was able to stop quick enough. Hershey factory switching when? Do you have stuff inside it? The Hershey factory doesn't have an interior. There are parts of the factory I can drive trains into, but that's about it. The Hershey factory is currently disconnected, but I think once I get it to the new house, I definitely want to involve it more in the operations. We're gonna have to see though, because with the new configuration of the house, I really don't know how the layout is gonna fit. I've measured it. The basement can fit this section of the layout, and it can fit this section of the layout, although this is gonna be under a staircase, which means there's no space for the Hershey factory. But the new basement is gonna have room kind of like this, like there's space beyond it, but there's a wall. So what I'm thinking is I can run a line between the two or something like that and add more layouts. There's a lot of space down there, so there's room to work with. I just need to figure out how to make it work with this. What is the prize for the Christmas competition this year? I have no idea. I mean, I usually buy that in November or December every year, so yeah, I haven't even driven to the hobby shop yet. We're not even through Halloween, so we'll see when we get there. I was gonna say tear down the wall, but it makes more sense. I wish I could tear down the wall. With this basement, there's actually a wall right where this post is. It's the same layout, which is kind of weird, but the wall is not structural, so I'm thinking I'm gonna be able to demolish that. But the wall, you know, if you imagine it like this wall has cement inside it, so there's not gonna be anything to do in terms of getting rid of that, so. But I think it's going to be a lot easier to start planning out how I want to use the space once I'm actually in the space, and hopefully that will happen soon. SMT, could I email you some pictures of my layout? I used to truck in Canada. Yeah, sure. If you want to send an email, I'd be happy to check out your design or whatever you've got built so far. Build a helix going through the floor and use it for the rest of the layout. Yeah, you never know. I don't have any pictures of it at the moment, but one thing that is kind of creepy about the new house is that the area under the staircase, again, there's like a wall, and then you've got a little door to open up the storage under the stairs. When I first opened that, there's just like a rocking chair, and there's a floating lamp, and it's an optical illusion because they tied a string from the top of the lamp to like the ceiling. But it's just weird because you open that door and you have an old rocking chair and a floating lamp. Like it really does look like it's out of like a Halloween movie or something. Does it damage a train when it derails or crashes into another train? In terms of the models, most of the time you're just gonna have maybe a bent handrail or, you know, some bit of plastic brakes. It's very rare that two trains bump into each other and it does damage. If one rolls off the layout, yeah, maybe your motor becomes dismounted or you lose a drive shaft or something gets bent, kind of like this thing was. But generally a couple of them were, you know, just having contact, they're not gonna cause issues. Do you prefer table layouts or wall layouts? I prefer table layouts. I really get why people like wall layouts. Like, you know, it kind of makes more sense because all this area in the middle, you don't need that. So if you think about kind of splitting your layout up and then just having more track, it's a good idea. But I don't know. I just like everything being close and in reach. You don't have to walk everywhere to work on it. You can add more scenery. I just noticed the Athearn blue box art in the background. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of different brands on there. I don't know if I've shown this in detail. Yeah, it's just about everything from different eras, and for a lot of model railroaders out there, there's going to be stuff in here that's nostalgic. But one thing that I also like about it is, you know, sometimes I'm showing off the layout to people who, and this is just kind of like an interesting idea of, you know, the different boxes you would have seen when you bought this stuff in the stores. Is that a TYCO locomotive kit? Yes, it is. I got that at a train show years ago. Do you still have the cursed steam engine? Yeah. Just try to run that thing. The copper locomotive. You think you hate it now, wait till you drive it. If it starts, yeah, well, it probably will. What does everybody bet in terms of this thing starting or not? Did you paint that? Yeah, I got this thing. It was some sort of steampunk engine somebody had made. It looked even more terrifying then, if you can believe it. And I painted it copper because I kind of wanted to keep the steampunk theme intact. And then after I did that, I realized, I don't know, it's sort of a silly task. I'm probably going to end up painting this thing all black at some point, but for now, this is what I have. And if I give it power, it starts up. Oh, no, I spoke too soon. It's shorted. What is going on? Oh, yeah. I can definitely smell stuff burning. Uh-oh. You see the smoke coming out of it? He's 7. What is going on with these numbers? Is it supposed to smoke that bad? Not usually this bad. I think what might have happened is I think one of the trucks might have rotated around the wrong way. No, it didn't actually. Yeah, something's not going right there. 4th repair tonight. It has something to do with this. It's the curse, I think. Must be. I don't know, to me it feels like this front truck is loose. I think what might be happening is this is loose, and so the isolated wheels are maybe making contact with the frame. I think I must have lost a screw or something here. The engine looks decent until you get to the cab. Well, I don't know. When you have a closer look at a lot of this, it's actually not that good. It's it looks good from a distance. Well, lo and behold. Let's check out the low speed on my fine high. Oh, this is a high performance engine here. There we go. It's ready for my MNRA meet and greet. Take this to the train show, people will love it. You plan on making the layout at your new house bigger? Yeah. The Autumn Limited. Speed and power. Oh, this thing's got it. It's solid. Wonder what other sketchy stuff I have to run. You know what, I feel like this thing wasn't running great last time. I wonder if this will start. Completely shorted out. How mysterious. Trucks are both on the right side. Oh. I mean, it is running, which is good to see. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do a full servicing on this evening because I have to finish off the live stream soon enough as to keep everybody upstairs awake, but I do already kind of see a couple things that could be holding. Oh, no, that's not good. Okay, it's worse than I thought. Look at that. See what's wrong here? Did it shear a pin? Wow. First time I've ever seen that one happen. Wow. It's threaded, just screw it back in. Yeah, but you see how like do you see how it, like, it only goes through so far? And then there's still material in there, so I think it actually managed to shear off its own pin. The first time I've seen an engine with enough torque to actually do that. If I can probably slowly twist this out. Yeah, I thought it was just running rough due to electrical issues. Of course, it's unquartered now. Yeah, it's crazy it had enough torque to do that. Oh, never mind. It's gone, such a shame. I don't think it's hopeless, you know. I'm sure there's a way to fix this, but that's really bad. There must have been some sort of a weakness in the metal. That's unexpected. Will you be able to fix it? Might be a new record for the most amount of repairs. Yeah, I don't know. I think I would like to probably put in a genuine Varney screw. Despite how bad this engine looks, there's actually a lot of really valuable parts in this thing. This is quite sought after in a lot of ways. I've had some offers on it, so you know I don't really want to go just kind of hacking stuff together. But there's got to be a source. I have not Riverossi, but Varney parts in storage, so I'd reckon that if I could just get what's in there out, I could probably figure out a way to get this all back together. Yeah, that's a first for me. I've seen some interesting damage before, but yeah, just shearing something clean off like that is very unusual. I wonder if these would be enough just to kind of grip the head of that and back it out. It's weird because it almost looks loose. Like it's been dancing around in there for a while. I wish Bachmann would bring back the old consolidations. I mean, you never know. They might still have the tooling for it. See if we can just get just the needles of these in. Just kind of grab the head of that. What's left of the bolt. Probably from a lack of lubrication. That point gets a lot of stress since dry. It might increase the tension. It's not impossible. I hope it's not just a defect with the entire metal as a whole there. Yeah, this definitely had been rallying around in there for a long time. Like, I don't know. I might have to remove the whole wheel set, honestly, just see if I can get that screw out. Drill it out and retap it. That would probably be a good last resort, but whenever there's a broken bolt, I don't care what I'm working on, if it's a model train or an outboard motor or a car. I really hate drilling out bolts. That's usually my my last resort. That looks weird. That looks really weird. What? Does this thread into the back of the other... Is that what's going on here? Is this thread in there? Oh, yeah. It's not broken. It just, That's a weird design. That's a really weird design. Look at that. It threads in from the back. So it didn't actually shear this off. It just, this slowly backed out, and then it just popped out. So this should be fixable. That's great news. For a second, I thought, did somebody seriously break this at some point? I thought they had, like, crazy glued a bolt to the back. As you sound, I am relieved, because I thought I was going to have to go parts hunting. This is great news. I never knew Varney did that. This is a first for me, too. I'm sure there's some collector out there shaking their head saying, I know that, but... First time I've ever seen that. Like, I've seen some engines, either they're threaded into the wheel itself, or the other thing I've seen on some, like, River Rossies and stuff is they put a nut behind the wheel, and so it threads into that. I've never seen one where... you know, it actually goes through the hole and then you screw it in from the inside. Very strange, but I'll take that. Now everything is unquartered at this point, so it'd be good if I could pull these wheels out. That way I could try to get this straightened out and then try to basically retime the engine. I need to pull that out there. This still looks real messed up. Sometimes if you have an engine which has become unquartered, if you throw it in reverse, it straightens everything out. It will, like, kind of undo what it did. And I think I'm going to attempt that with this one. Yep, like that. Now, unfortunately, because the bolt, again, is screwed in from the other side, we need to try to get it the other way. So, I think what I'm going to try to do now is we'll, maybe with a really small amount of power here, try throwing it in reverse here, see if we can get that to a high enough point. See, now it's undid what it just done here. Let's see here. Just need to limp it around. Will this engine get a paint job or at least some lettering? Probably not. I think I'm just gonna leave it with the kind of natural look. Yeah, I'm starting to see why maybe they stopped using this design. Maybe it needs the wheel. Well, it definitely needs the wheels cleaned, but no. First of all, we need to figure out a way to get it to rotate around here. Easier said than done. Yeah, now it's all seized up. Oh. Yeah, we made progress. That might be enough to work with. So now all we need to do is get all this stuff right back through here. And it should just slot right through that wheel. This design is so perplexing. It's from the 50s. Varney didn't last that long. Yeah. They made some legendary locomotives while they were at it, though. One thing that I didn't know about this until after I'd bought it was this actually has a Lindsay, I think it's called either a V3 or a V4 super motor, which is a 6-pole or 7-pole motor, I should say. Very, very rare motors. They're quite sought after because they're so rare. And the motors alone go for $70, and I think I paid like $15 for this thing. So yeah, definitely quite rare locomotives. Quite a special engine, really, for what I paid for it. Anyway, we got that guy pretty well torqued down there. So yeah, just throw these back in place, and we should be good to go. Might have gone here. Are you fixing a steam engine? Well, we are now. I can't remember if this was already missing a screw or... I'll find it later. Let's just see if I got this thing running again. You put the blue brick on top of the screw. You might be right about that. Let's have a look. Yeah, that's a different screw. I'll review the footage later and I'll find it. It still kind of looks funny to me, but We'll see what she does. And it's shorted again. Probably a result of the tender. Hmm. 3 repairs in one day. I'm not so sure why it's shorted so badly, because this was running just like a second ago. That all looks good. Oh. I think we can call that one a runner. That was a lot easier than I was expecting. I really thought we were gonna have to go parts hunting, which is always a nightmare. I'd way rather just have to wrench on something for a few minutes trying to get it all back together than go parts hunting on eBay and spend $1 million for a 2mm bolt. Anyway, I think that's going to be it for today's live stream. I hope you all enjoyed. Thank you all so much for joining in this evening. Pretty happy with the results. Got 4 different engines working in various conditions, including this one, which I thought was going to be a lot worse. Anyways, hope everyone has a wonderful night here.